Welcome to the Mystical Truths Podcast. This is Rebecca, and I'm really glad you're here. Let's unlock your world. I think it's pretty easy to see that there's never a time on this planet when things are not changing. However, it's becoming increasingly noticeable that we are absolutely in a time of accelerated expansion. Consciousness is changing. We are changing. The way we do life is sort of exploding in new ways. And all of it's good. Even if we don't like it all, it's all good. And keep in mind as we talk about this, that this great shift that we're in is not happening to us. It's happening right along with us. We are creators at our core. That's what we're here for. We create by what we think, what we give our attention to. And if we are looking for the honey in this shift, there will be more of it. So I think the more of us that pay attention, the more of us that appreciate the value of this, the better it's going to be. You'll notice that humans are moving away from the old belief of being separate from Source or from God, and into a remembering that all is one. We're realizing that Source is not out there somewhere outside of us, but is right here, inside of us, within us. Source is within us. We are a part of that. We are that. And that's really big. That remembering or that realization that Source is within us is huge for humanity, because we spent years searching out there and being told by other humans to search out there because God is out there. And that couldn't be further from the truth. We spent years trying to fill a void that isn't fillable from out there. When you realize that Source is within you, there's just no void to fill. So we're coming to know God in form, Source in form. Some people call this the Great Awakening or the thinning of the veil. But how do we know? Like, what evidence do we have that this shift is really a thing? Well, we have tons of it. And of course, I can't get to it all here, but let's take a look at some of it. You've had to notice that a lot more people are a lot more open about the way we live life here and the way things are than we used to be in the past. Most skeletons are out of the closet and have been for a little while now. We talk openly about abuse and control and our mental state, our sexual preferences, our frustrations with work, and being pushed into a expectation to be somebody that we don't feel we are. It's okay today to openly say you're gay or you are spiritual. It's okay today for dad to do play dates, for a woman to be a mechanic, a man to be a nurse. You don't have to know somebody to get ahead today. You don't have to sleep with somebody to get your promotion. We're waking up to the control and the separation and all of the turmoil that came out of that sense of separation. And we're shifting it. You know, when I was younger, it was not only hard to find information about spiritual things or metaphysical things, but you just didn't talk about it if you did find the information. Today, people are openly seeking spirit and answers. We're very curious. Self-development is happening on all levels: personal, spiritual, scientific. We're getting proof by personal experience and scientific proof. Scientists, researchers, medical professionals are curious. They're exploring. Many openly and still some privately, but it's happening. There are universities now doing research, private groups doing research. I think the University of Virginia has a reincarnation study they're doing with kids where they're locating the actual last life that the child had and publishing what they find. The government is doing research and publishing it. They're not putting it on the news, but it's there. We have quantum physics now and epigenetics, quantum mechanics, earthing research. Earthing is grounding yourself and actually touching the earth to connect with the energy of the earth. That's a real thing. And we no longer need to go very far to get more information or to find the answers or even the research. It's on YouTube. We have TED Talks. We have podcasts. You can even purchase merchandise that has your favorite spiritual sayings on it. And interestingly enough, more people are experiencing and talking about things like near-death experiences and past life recall, their own personal spiritual experiences. More people are channeling today than ever before. People are even wanting to experience source through psychedelics. We're more open about that now. That used to be a big no-no. But today we're researching it. It's becoming regulated in a way where it's more pure, it's studied, we understand more about it. We're not just playing around with it. I'm not saying I recommend it, but it's there. It's just another piece of evidence that we are changing. It's baby steps, but we're doing it. We're exploring the idea of multi-dimensions and even making movies about it, like The Matrix or Spider-Man. The Spider-Man movies that are out now are about spider people being on different dimensions or from different dimensions. It's not just the government anymore that's exploring outer space. We have groups that are formed that are exploring that avenue. We're reaching out. Politics has become very odd because it's changing. Even people politics, like the Bud Light thing. Bud said, we're for everyone. And some people got really mad and said, well, we're not going to drink your beer anymore. Well, that's fine. Change is not comfortable for everybody. Some people felt that change was being forced on them, or that idea was being forced on them. Some fear it. Some didn't care one way or the other about it. But one thing's for sure, the tough love, iron fist, hard knocks version of life is falling away of its own weight, and it should. I hear people say that, we raised our children with an iron fist and, the school of hard knocks, and they turned out okay, or our parents raised us that way and we're all fine. No, you're not. No, you're not. We've had insecurity, abuse, confusion, fear all over the place, control over others. So many closets full of skeletons. It's time to let that go. That's just not what works. You can beat somebody into submission to be who you want them to be or how you want them to be. But that's not good for either party. We're getting that now. When I was raising my kids, I didn't beat or shame my kids into being good people. I treated them with respect and honesty. And of course, one of the biggest and latest proofs of the shift is the pandemic. That was just no accident. That had so much good stuff in it. That was the first time that we know of that all of humanity experienced the same event at the same time. We all of us, shared a life-altering event simultaneously. We put most of life on pause for a few weeks and then stayed partially checked out for months. It was literally a world-changing experience and event. I mentioned before humanity moving from separation into oneness. We were one world, and we continue to be more aware that we are one world of people. We're a human race instead of separate groups or cultures. There was so much honey in that pandemic. Like, we have curbside service now and delivery services that we didn't have before. How awesome is that? If you have a physical condition that makes it difficult for you to shop, or you have little kids that you just can't drag them all into a store without a hassle, or you're very busy and it's just sort of inconvenient for you to spend time shopping in a store when you can click, click, click and buy, go pick it up and be on your way. I'm glad it stuck around and didn't go away after the pandemic. Work from home is a thing. And the funny thing about that is some people discovered that they actually missed working with people and wanted to work. Or before, I don't want to work. They gained a new appreciation. And other people found that they really enjoyed working at home and not having people slow their day down by stopping to talk about their personal life or the drama at work and things like that. People discovered new likes, hobbies, inventions. We have more influencers, more people that change what they're doing and are doing it now online. We have Zoom now. We have a world that's more connected. Zoom or any other program like that was helpful because now we can have meetings online and know how to do it, and it's not awkward. It's not something we have to figure out. We have figured it out. Families were able to stay in touch with each other online, and people now connect through video without being so concerned that they have to look a certain way, or that if their dog runs by in the background, it's going to be a problem. And, we've relaxed about how we communicate across that type of platform. Frontline workers became a phrase, and we appreciated and recognized the people who had to keep working. We missed our freedoms, the freedom to come and go, to breathe openly. We missed stocked shelves, easy access to things, which all of that caused appreciation, right? We appreciated our truck drivers more. We appreciated the entry-level workers who disappeared. Where'd they go? Because a lot of them haven't come back yet. So it's kind of a curious thing. We questioned the standard ways. We questioned being told what to do or what not to do, and the validity or the accuracy of that. Pay rates changed. Before the pandemic, there was talk of minimum wage going up to $15 an hour or whatever over, course of years. Well, that all changed pretty fast during the pandemic. Work standards changed. Understaffed became common. People with criminal records found it a little easier to get work because some of the standards were changed. There was more desperation to get people to fill positions. Because before that, we were getting pretty strict on that level. Schools developed online education that we still can use as a backup plan today. We have figured it out. So now it's easier should we need to use it again. Prices went up, but that should have allowed our sense of abundance to increase, which is a good thing. We saw the Great Resignation, where employees who felt like, I've been in this job for a long time, I haven't gotten the raises I want, or this just isn't, but that company's hiring it they've got a better package now because they're really hunting for people. They've sweetened the pot. So I'm going to go over there. You go over here. You go over there. People started moving around to take advantage of the new opportunities that were being created by everybody moving around. So, and there's so much more, but so much good came from the pandemic. It upped our game. It brought us together. And the biggest thing that it taught us, I think, was that whatever we give our attention to becomes greater, becomes more, sticks around longer. Did the pandemic have to last that long? Probably not. But how could it not have when it was given so much attention, especially the negative aspects of it? So this shift is not just about the pandemic by far. We've been in this for a while, and like I said, we're going to be in it for a little while longer. It is picking up speed, so to speak, and things are happening quicker, faster, stronger, more amazingly. And that's why we're saying this is a time of accelerated change. And it's an important time. And you chose to be here in physical form for this. So don't fear it. Get excited about it. Get tuned in to it. Become a cooperative component of the good stuff that this has got in it so that we can enhance that. And with that, we will see fewer people filling their inner void externally. And by that, I mean, when you feel a void, when there's just something missing in your life, it's not uncommon for people to fill it with work or items, shop, endless adventures, substances, all kinds of different things, because this is a world of big variety. There's a lot out there for us to utilize. But when we recognize that we've got it right here, that's contagious, right? That more people are going to start to see that and feel it and experience it. You also see that corporations and people in general are not going to feel the need to compete in a cutthroat way like they have in the past. We have more abundance now than we've ever had before, and that is increasing. So when you have abundance, there's really no need to compete for limited resources, right? We're not having to hunt down a limited number of creatures to eat or plants to ingest. There's abundance now. There's just more and more and more, and that's a beautiful thing. And that will help us to shift where we can recognize that all companies or all people want their expansion and their growth and their prosperity, and we can all have it. And if we compete for any of it, it can be in a much more friendly fashion. But again, even though this is accelerated, some of this we're still baby stepping. You're going to see more inclusion, more compassion, more ease, more love, because we have to let go of how rough it's been here. Suffering and struggle are never requirements on this planet, never have been. Vishen Lakhiani talks about rules, something he calls brules, B-R-U-L-E-S, bullshit rules. And I totally agree with that, because we have developed so many rules over the years on this planet that are bogus. And we're understanding that now. We're starting to see the limitations that we've put on ourselves. You know, one that I can think of was where people used to say it takes a village to raise a child, meaning that children are learning and exploring, and if a child walks toward fire, any one of us will lovingly redirect that child and not judge the child or the parents for it. But then humans kind of got, in their separated state, got kind of twisted, and for a long time, didn't want anybody else, were offended if anybody else tried to help them with their child. People started developing strong opinions about how their child should be raised, and that you should not help me because then that makes me look like I'm not as great of a parent. But what we're getting to in that, and of course we can have our own parenting ideas, but in that, this new version is we look out for and we care about each other. We're all in this together, just like we said during the pandemic. We have each other's backs. We can still have our own opinions. We can still have our own style of doing things. But we also can look out for and care for each other. We have GoFundMe now. We pay it forward. There's a news digest that I get via email. It's 1440 Daily Digest. They have a section in there. It's really well put together, by the way. Just give you enough to understand where they're going, and then they give you a link if you want to read more. So it's not a whole bunch of news in an email. But they have a section often called Human Kindness, where they share a real story that happened to somebody that showed human kindness. This is in our news now, at least in their news. So what's happening here is we're getting our oneness back. We're hearing more and more things like you be you and I'll be me. That's loving each other right where we're at. So we're leaving behind also that brute mentality of forcing our views or our opinions or our ways on other people, of creating rules and forms of control and dominance, group separation. That's falling apart too of its own weight. We're moving into more compassion, non-judgment, oneness. We're not going to be following the herd anymore. That structure is no longer relevant. It's no longer acceptable to us. We're thinking from our hearts, and we're tuning into all of creation. We're even learning the concept of, there I am again in you. And that means since we are all source, we're all the same energy, everything that I look at is a part of me, is me. There I am again in you. This is Source expressing itself in many different ways. Whether it's an animal, a plant, a person, we're learning to understand the idea and the concept of that's me over there too. That's me over there too. That's a different version of me. That's a different expression of me. This is an incredible time to be physical if you allow yourself to see it. Because this is an expansion like nothing we've ever seen before in history. So be open, be playful, be easy, tune in so that you can be a helpful part of this awakening. Ask yourself often as you go through your days, am I judging, criticizing, being hard on myself or other people or circumstances? Or am I loving myself and other people and this planet? Am I trusting Source? Am I feeling good on purpose because I can? Because that's all it takes to be one of the best creators and bringer-inners of a great shift. So like I said before, this shift is not happening to you. It's happening with you. How do you want it to be? And keep in mind that perception, or how you choose to look at and interpret anything, is everything. How you choose to look at and interpret anything means everything to not just your personal world and not just this physical world, but to all of creation. It makes a big difference. And that's what I do best in coaching people, is to help you understand and see how to shift, speaking of shifts, your perception of what's really going on in your life and how it can be better if you want it to be better. How do you get there? How is your perception affecting your world? Because just like a pandemic, how you see it makes all the difference for what you get out of it. So be curious, during this shift. It's going to last longer than we'll be on the planet, I believe. So I hope this has helped you to get a better perspective about what's going on here and how important it is and how wanted it is, and that you're a contributor. So like everything, have fun with this big old shift that we're in. And if you would like some guidance for your own life, you can find me at mysticaltruths.com.